Hello team, how you doing? I am coming to you live on a Friday night. Just waiting for Instagram. We are live now on how to measure your belly fat. So you've seen earlier, I've done a post on is your belly fat dangerous? And it triggered a few people like, oh my God, you're fat shaming. No, I'm telling the truth. Belly fat is medically known as dangerous. It can cause a number of health conditions that can be detrimental to your health, i.e. Obviously heart attacks, high blood pressure, all the silent killers, amongst diabetes, cancers, lots of other reasons why it matters to know whether your belly fat is dangerous or not. And I say that because there's a warning point, right? There's times we can put on a bit of weight, we lose a bit of weight, circumstances, I mentioned it before, moving home, you might be stressed, there might be things going on in your life, you might have had an operation, so you put a bit of fat on. And as females over 40, that fat is going to go to our bellies. That's where it's going to go. It's one to protect our reproductive organs, but there comes a point where that belly fat becomes problematic. And there's so much out there about body confidence, don't fat shame people, da da da. Well, no, actually, what I'm talking about is the real health implications of belly fat. And what I'm talking about is that it is dangerous, absolutely is, and it's detrimental to your health. And it's not about making people feel bad, it's about having factual conversations. It's like people try to quiet everyone now. Oh, you can't say that. Oh, just give information. But it's super important that we talk about it because it is a matter of health. So obviously a lot of women feel uncomfortable. They come to work with me in terms of the belly fat, it might be the saggy bits on their arms, all those different things. And we've got loads of these high-tech scales now that tell you different stats. I know quite a lot of the gyms have got them where it'll give you your fat, your body weight, loads of different matrix. And I just want to come on and let you know, if you don't have any of those fancy scales, how can you tell? How can you tell if your belly fat is an issue? Or yes, you might have a little bit of fat on, but you feel like, do you know what, it's summer, I'm not too worried about it right now, I might tackle that one in the winter. Or if you're like, oh shit, maybe that's something I should act on now. So coming to you with the facts on that so you can make the choice that works for you. Because yes, we like to look good in our clothes. Yes, we like to fit into our clothes, but actually this is also a health issue. Okay, so first up, one way that you can check if your belly fat is healthy is by measuring your waist. Good old tape measure, right? It's actually one of the most accurate ways is to grab a tape measure. All the technology we have, that is a good old tape measure. So if you're a woman, more than 35 inches, 88 centimeters is deemed unhealthy. And if you're a man, more than 40 inches, which is 102 centimeters, is deemed unhealthy. And what that means is that by carrying the weight around your belly, it's for a risk of, especially men as well, heart attack, stroke, diabetes, certain cancers. So there's loads of negative health implications around carrying too much belly fat. But there's also the other side around your mobility, because when you are overweight and carrying the belly fat, then it's going to affect your mobility. Now, when I talk about affecting your mobility, it could be that extra load on your ligaments, on your bones, on your knees, your hips. Typically for women, it tends to be knees and hips that is the biggest challenge. But the most reliable way is literally kind of measuring your waist and going, am I over the 35 inches, the 88 centimeters? Okay, so then that is a risk factor. Okay, so I'm at the point now where actually my belly is a risk factor in terms of causing me all other health conditions rather than it just be me about being overweight. And another way is around BMI. Now, BMI has always been controversial. Now, I say controversial more and more because people are, oh, it's not an accurate measure. No, it's not an accurate measure, but I tell you what, if you end up in the hospital, BMI is what they're going to use to whether they do an operation or not. So with BMI, it takes your weight, your height, your age. It used to look at activity levels, not so much now, but the NHS uses to basically decide whether you are risk based, so whether you can go for an operation or not. So it will be one of the risk factors on whether you go ahead with an operation or not will be around your BMI. And not just for operations, but also for fertility as well. They also use it as a factor for fertility too. And I know I've had a number of clients that come worked with me and they've been told that they need to lose weight before they'll be even put on the register for IVF, like I said, fertility treatment. So as much as people might hate on BMI, the fact is our medical system in the UK uses it, and it is used as an indicator of risk, but also an indicator of whether you are then eligible, one of the factors for things like IVF too. I know I worked with a client who needed an operation. She was told to lose weight. They wouldn't give her the operation until she lost weight, and she came to work with me, and she lost 10 kg. And they then were like, right, okay, cool, you've proven that you can lose weight. We will want to work with you to get you down to the weight we want you to be for the operation. So as much as people might hate on it and slag it off, at the end of the day, it's what the NHS use. Is it right? Is it wrong? To be honest, it's irrelevant, because when it comes to the conversation with the doctors, it doesn't matter, because that's what they're going to use. Okay, so it's that thing. It is a factor. If you do come a cropper or you need support from NHS for anything, they will use that before the treatments and operations. Obviously, if it's an emergency operation, they're going to do the emergency operation, but obviously they like to avoid the risk to your life, and BMI is something they take into consideration. Alrighty, another thing you've got to think about is your lifestyle. So some people are like, oh, I get a bloated belly. I'm never going to be able to tell by just measuring my belly. Well, yes, but let's be honest, we know when our bellies are bloated and when they're not. Okay, we know when our bellies are a bit podgy because we've eaten too much, versus it's bloated because I had bread that doesn't agree with me, or it's bloated because I'm dehydrated, or my belly's bloated because I ate at the restaurant and the food was super salty. Things I've all talked about before. So the causes of having a bloated belly. And some people do have like SIBO, things like that cause bloated bellies. But the difference between having a bloated belly and it being belly fat. You've got to be honest with yourself and have honest conversations. And that's what I'm here for, to have an honest conversation. And then it's really about, well, what's your lifestyle? So again, honest conversation. Like I say, if you put on a bit of weight because you're post-operation, you've moved house, there's lots of different circumstances, you've maybe lost somebody in your life, and you may be going through quite a lot of stress at work, so you've hit the comfort eating. So there might be things in your life that are kind of triggering you to do the habits that aren't serving you, and as a result, you've put on a bit more weight. Now, what I say, if this weight is to the point where it's unhealthy because you're over those 35 inches, then do look at doing something to just move your body more, getting out for a walk, getting fruit and veg in your house. I've done plenty of posts on that, like switch out the crisps, switch out the sweet stuff, just have fruit in your house. So that's the only option you've got to munch on, and then hydrating your body. So if you just start off by hydrating your body with water, having whole foods, protein, veg, and fruit in your house, remove the snacks that are tempting that you're going to overindulge, or at least create a barrier where if you really want that thing, you've got to go to the shops to go get it. And then if you do go to the shops to get it, then buy a single serving, like a small chocolate bar or a single packet crisp, rather than the grab bags of sweets and crisps that there are now. And then just tune in to how you feel after that, because if you have the high quality food, move the body, it's a win for you. So you're going to feel so much better for that, and that's going to help you move forward. And as I mentioned, the reason I'm highlighting this is because I get asked quite a lot, how do you know with belly fat? Is it dangerous? Is it not? And it's that thing, like we used to call it in kids like puppy fat, right? It used to be the terminology used. And so whether you put fat on or not, and how much it's impacting your life, and if you're worried about your long-term health, because I'm all about long-term health. So ideally we do want to get rid of that, especially as we go for perimenopause, menopause. Spoken about loads of times, it makes it harder to lose the weight. The things we used to do don't work anymore, so it makes it harder for us to lose the weight. So it's something you kind of want to get on top of before it becomes a problem that you end up being in hospital, not well. And I've mentioned it before, like trans-ischemic attack, heart conditions, they are prevalent in women, and it's not talked about as much as cancer. But it's definitely a big killer for women in the UK, and it's something that's not talked about. So belly fat, again, is another indicator of health, of potential heart disease, diabetes, the onset of these conditions that could creep up on you. So let's be preventative. So actually, let's talk about belly fat. Let's talk about how to measure it. Let's talk about whether it's dangerous or not, because we're over the threshold of being at risk. Let's have these conversations instead of going, oh, be body confident, when actually we need to be having the conversations, because your health matters, your life matters. And if me doing this live saves your life, then good. If me doing this triggers something in you and you're like, oh my God, that's awful what she's talking about, then please go seek a therapist or speak to someone. Because if you're triggered by what I'm talking about and that gets you, makes you feel sad or makes you feel rubbish about yourself, then there's deeper hurt going on in your body, there's deeper pain, and that's something that myself would be able to help you with. So you need to go to a therapist and speak up about that. And then if you are worried about your health, if you're going on one of these scales, or you've just got to take measure out and you're like, holy shit, how does this happen? Because it can creep up on us. then go and speak to your doctor about it. Go and have a conversation. Say what your worries are. Say, I'm worried about this. What's my risk of heart disease? What can I do about it? Have the conversation with your doctor. I'm sure the doctor would be delighted to have a conversation with someone to kind of say, well, actually, yes, you are at risk, and here's the things you can do about it. Let's monitor your blood pressure. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at what's happening and give you a bit of an overall health check. So it's always those things. If you are concerned about it, go and speak to your doctor. And if you're really struggling to make changes in your life and you're like, Julie, I'm really not happy with my weight and my belly fat, but I just can't get motivated, even like accountability, and I've got gym buddies and things like that, but I just can't stop eating, then honestly, go speak to a therapist, because there's deeper underlying pain there that's driving your behaviors. All right, team, so let's summarize. The reason it's important to know whether your belly fat is dangerous or not is prevention. It's preventing you from potential comorbidities, as they call it, medical conditions down the road around heart disease, stroke, transient ischemic attacks, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancers, all these things is preventative. Like I say, you'll kind of know whether you're kind of under the 35 inches or you're over, and you might be like, okay, that's okay, I'm under 35, but still try and get on top of it and just start living a healthier life, moving more, eating the whole foods, having the fruit, have the veg, hydrating with water. About prevention. Try not to wait until shit hits the fan and you end up in hospital before you do something about your health. And then summarize BMI, it is what the NHS uses for fertility treatment. It's what they use for risk assessment for operations. So whether you like it or not, yes, it has limitations. It can't tell the difference between muscle and fat. You can go on the NHS website and fill in their form to see what your BMI is like. And they'll also call it the limitations, but it is an indicator that they use. And again, it's just about understanding the risk, where you are, and if you're concerned, go and speak to your doctor. But it's really about, well, let's have a look at this. And then, it's evidence, it's measurement, it's a data set. And it might be one that goes, I need to do something about that. I'm not happy where I am. I'm at risk. My BMI says X, this says X. And yeah, you can sit there and beat yourself up about it, or you can go, actually, I'm going to do something about this because it's in my control to change it. And if you don't feel it's in your control to change it, go and have a conversation with a GP or a therapist who can help you make that change. All right, team, that's a wrap on how to measure your belly fat, why it's important. And like I say, all about prevention. I'm all about long-term health. So I hope you find that beneficial. And if it is triggering for you, then there's something in you that needs a little bit of work around that. And there's plenty of people in the medical world who can help you with that. All right, team, take care. Have a good weekend. And I will catch you on Monday.